Well, it's Guns, Knives, Watches, and I would love to sit there and tell you and be able to tell you that the knife in front of you is where I started in my knife journey. The ability to modify it, the ability to treat the leather, to know how to take this knife that is a, it might be a limited production, but to start out with this knife and to make it into what I've made it into. You see a very rough surface. In reality, it's a very polished surface. I'm just reflecting back a very diluted background. As you can see, the reflection in the blade, my finger there, but in that situation, you don't see it. That's because I put a finish on it so that will do that. Well, except for the blade right there. I think I polished that a little too much. But anyway, I wish I could tell you that this is where I started. Be able to take a $350 knife and modify the hell out of it. Be able to treat the leather. Be able to make this a very smooth, polished surface. Know how to sharpen that correctly. And get a mirror finish that has the ability to not be a super polished surface that will reflect back and give off my position, this, there, the other, But I didn't start there. I'd love to be able to tell you that I did, but I didn't. I would also love to be able to tell you that I started here with these Mora knives. A very inexpensive knife, considering what we consider to be an expensive knife nowadays. But back in the day, and this is my latest project knife, this is a Mora Force. The previous knife, this is from the Pathfinder store. It's the Pathfinder Scout. No, it's not. It's the Pathfinder PLSK1 with the Kydex sheath made by Blind Horse Knives. And they screwed up on the grind. A lot of people screw up on the grind. But anyway, I would love to sit there and tell you that this is where my journey began. Taking what we consider nowadays, or what I consider nowadays, an inexpensive Mora Force, polishing it, taking the surface, making it flat, and being able to do that. I would love nothing more than say this is where my journey began. But that would all be self-aggrandizement. From a $350 knife or so to just a simple $27 knife, I think is what I paid for these Forces. But the $27 knife, in reality, is not where I started. I started here. This is a Flying Falcon Firefly 2 made by Frost Cutlery in China. It has a 3 3/4 inch closed folding knife. That's not the blade, sorry. Stainless steel, locking Tonto, half serrated plastic handle. And I used to carry these, and this was my pocket knife. And this was it to me. This was the knife that I carried. Cost $1. You buy one of those packs of 100 Frost Cutlery knives, and you learn, you modify them. You have these knives that are very inexpensive, and I think I carried one of these. Normally I would carry one of these for about a year or so. Chisel ground blade, basically. Tonto, half serrated. All the things I don't like in knives now, I used to carry these all the time. Just a simple rivet holding it together. When it would get loose, You know, I'd beat that side with a hammer, lock, you know, a simple locking back. But this is where I started, with a simple dollar knife. And as I said, I would carry it a year or so. And what did I do most of it? I would open boxes, this, that, or the other, and I would use it for cutting string, whatever else. But that's the reality of where I started. And I keep these knives so that I never forget where I learned, you know, where I started. Later on in years, I went to things like this, which was the Emerson, and this is the simply, and I'll try to get it on film, the CQC7 BW. Let's see if I can get where you see that. And there is its serial number, model year. This is made in 2012. But see how the evolution of my progress, and I carried one of these a long time ago, back in the day when I first started. So I made the leap. No serrations, still chisel ground blade, flat on one side, very small grind on one side, the main grind's on the other. I bought this knife just to go in my collection. The original knife, unfortunately, got lost a long time ago. Of course, this one has the wave feature, which is really good for opening beer bottles, and also for opening the knife. But this is where I started. Simple frost cutlery, moved up to an Emerson. To me, that was a huge leap. Did I modify my Emersons? No. All I ever did was sharpen them. So, no matter where you start in the knife world, no matter where this, that, or the other, you know, people tend to, you know, because of the internet, because of this, that, or the other, you have a lot more information. You have to understand, this was 25 years ago. Or maybe even longer, that I got these knives. And where I always come back to, I still come back to a damn frost cutlery Mora. Because that's basically who I am. Yeah, can I carry a $350 knife? Yes. But, you know, this is who I am as a person. You know, a little something, a little knife that is underrated. People tend to grandize it on YouTube, I'm aware of that. But it's just a little modified, basic knife that works. And I make it work more for me. As you can see, I'm flattening the edges on it. I'm working on the grind. Of course, I use the Shapton system. These are the actual ceramic and glass ones, because I don't want to mess with always soaking them in water and keeping them in water and this, there, or the other, the water stones. But because knives are a tool for me, like guns, like anything else, they're just tools. It's not my main priority. It's not my main this, that, or the other. It's just something that I use to get things done. Anyway, this is Guns, Knives, and Watches, and I really just wanted to kind of take you down my journey. And don't ever underestimate your journey. Because, yeah, I started with a dollar knife because that's what I could afford. I think I would buy 100 knives. I would sell a bunch of them. I made those value pay payments where I would take and pay $20 a month or $25 a month or whatever the hell it was and go through the process. But that was my process. So don't get caught up in all this bullshit, because in reality I can do almost as much with that as most people can do with that. But that's because I went through the process. I learned the skills that you have, the ability to take your mind and do something, accomplish a task, is a hell of a set. I mean, you would think that this knife, Tonto Blade Emerson, has, you know, a lot of limitations just due to its grind, but this, that, or the other. But what is this knife designed for? It's designed for going through tough materials, hard materials. Cuts through Kevlar vests like butter. Cuts through a lot of different things, you know, because it has so much edge geometry. The actual edge is so strong on this knife. But anyway, the tip, sorry. Don't ever, you know, your journey is your journey. As I said, I started with dollar knives. You know what? I'll never get past that, because it taught me how to use a knife, how to modify a knife, how to do things. Instead of having the biggest, the best, the brightest that will do anything, how to actually make something that isn't the best work. And that's a concept that I've taken towards people, towards everything. As I said, I'd love to be able to sit there and tell you I've always had the biggest, the best, the brightest, this, that, or the other, but that's bullshit. In reality, I started out like everyone else, with a dollar knife. And you know what? In the end of the day, I can take that dollar knife and rock it. This is Guns, Knives, Watches. And don't ever be afraid, self-conscious, anything else, because everyone's journey is different. As I said, I would love to come out here on camera and tell you that, man, I rock $350 knives all the time, and this, there, the other, and da 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 da, and I'm the best thing since sliced bread. But in reality, I don't know that I'll ever get past that dollar knife. I don't know that I'll ever get past the Mora. Of course, I modify it. I take it and make a nice 90-degree spine on it, flatten out the sides, put a nice edge on it, and you can see there where they kind of screwed that up. They got a low spot right there. But anyway, this is Guns, Knives, Watches, and have a good one.